Hey, Thrive Loud listeners, Lou Diamond here. We have a great show for you today. Jeffrey Hayzlett is our guest, chairman of the C-Suite Network, and we cover talking about the C-Suite Network, some great marketing stories, and of course, his favorite food, bacon. So please sit back, enjoy Jeffrey Hayzlett, and check out the show notes afterwards to get more information. Enjoy.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Okay, welcome everyone to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, where we connect you to the most amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond, and today we are going to have a powerful show for you because we have with us a rock star. I think that's the easiest way to call him. Primetime TV and podcast host, keynote speaker, best-selling author, and global business celebrity, Mr. Jeffrey Hayzlett.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Well, if nothing else, I'm going to be loud. I can tell you that right now. I am going to be loud.
Well, with Thrive Loud, this is what we did. And for those who do not know who Jeffrey Hayzlett is, I have a little bio to give them a background so you have an education of this wonderful individual. Jeffrey Hayzlett is a primetime television host of C-Suite with Jeffrey Hayzlett and Executive Perspectives on C-Suite TV and business podcast host of All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett on C-Suite Radio. He is chairman of C-Suite Network, home of the world's most trusted network of C-Suite leaders, and also an aggregation of some pretty amazing people, I might add. That's a little pat on the back. Jeffrey is a well-traveled public speaker, former Fortune 100 CMO, and author of 3 best-selling business books, Think Big, Act Bigger, The Rewards of Being Relentless, Running the Gauntlet, and The Mirror Test. He is a turnaround architect of the highest order and a maverick marketer and possesses a remarkable cachet of mentorship, corporate governance, and brand building. Jeffrey Hayzlett is one of the most compelling figures in business today and an inductee into the National Speakers Association's Speaker Hall of Fame. Thrive Loud listeners, as we are here with someone who is at what I like to call a true master connector. So Jeffrey, with that whole intro, how are you today?
I am doing great, and thanks for having me. I'm in New York. I'm in my office in New York, having a blast with all the folks here and just doing business every day.
So I like to start every show in the spirit of connecting on what my personal connection is to you. And we've known each other for really not that long. It's actually just under a year. I'm a charter member of the C-Suite Advisors within the C-Suite Network. And what I was drawn to Jeffrey about is that he truly embodies what being a master connector is all about. And what I even was more fascinated with, which I think is what we're going to make the focus of today's conversation about, is the C-Suite Network itself. It's what I like to call the living, breathing, connecting core of C-Suite professionals and content experts. In this day and age where we have so much access to social media and ways to connect, and I'll leave my personal thoughts about what has happened to LinkedIn in this day and age. I think what Jeffrey has put together in the C-Suite Network is something that I personally think is what is needed and a differentiating factor in how to better serve corporations, leaders, and really change makers in industry. So this is a personal thank you to you for putting the C-Suite Network together. And I think that's where I kind of wanted to lead today with, because I know you can wax poetic about it all day long. But maybe give us a little bit of an update about what's going on with it, your day-to-day involvement, because it is changing every single day.
Every day, every minute. I tell you, poetically, you've done a nice job at setting it up, and I appreciate it. And that you can only be as good as your lowest common denominator, as a group, organization, whatever. So, our goal is to attract the best possible talent and continue to upgrade the talent. The folks that we have, just like in your life or network, the folks that we have won't be the same folks that we'll have moving forward. We'll have many of them, but not all of them, because that's just the way it is. I believe in the rule of thirds. A third get it right away, away, a third eventually get it, and a third never do. And so, in your organization, you're constantly changing. People talk about turnover. Well, that's a good thing because it's about change, adapt, or die. And in the C-Suite Network, what we're trying to do is create the most trusted environment for executives to get together. When I was the chief marketing officer of a Fortune 100 company, I used to pay like $50,000 a year to belong to an organization that got together twice a year so I could be in the room with 50 other CMOs just like me of billion-dollar companies to sit in a room so we could have conversations that we couldn't have everywhere else. And these weren't like top secret or anything like that, secret handshakes or anything. It was just a frank, open conversations. And I can't get that through LinkedIn. I can't get that through a lot of other places. And so what we decided to do was create an organization for people who are VPs or higher of certain size companies and put them in a room, put them online, put them on webinars, put them in places where they can share and get information, and they know that when it's coming, they can trust it, because that's the problem with things like, today, LinkedIn and others, where you can't trust who's coming at you because, we fake news, fake this, fake that. And so, with a good website, you can look like $1 billion company. And we needed something like that. So we created the advisors, the most trusted advisors, to the network. And so that's what C-Suite Network Advisors is all about. That's what we're creating. You can call them experts, consultants, trainers, leaders, thought leaders, but really we could put an arm around them and say, hey, this is a friend of mine, and somebody you should talk to and someone you could trust. And so we've created the most trusted network of those folks for the most trusted network. And that's really what we're trying to do.
And it's great. I'm a little plug here. Obviously, I'm part of this network as one of the C-Suite advisors. And the best comment I got from a client of mine who is becoming a member of the C-Suite network. He's actually enrolling as becoming one of the audience of the C-Suite advisors the C-Suite network we're trying to tap into. His point to me about the group, which I thought was really powerful, was there are so many industry-specific areas that they can tap into for content as it relates to improving their business or knowing what's going on specifically in their space. But in this world where you need to grow very quickly, where you need to adapt to a multi-generational workforce that's challenging, leadership challenges, business activities that are so intertwined, the ability to plug in and access not only content, but the leaders and experts that are part of that is something that is a requirement now for real, true companies to survive. They can't just rely on existing businesses and whatnot anymore because everything is changing so much. So to have access to it is what most people are most happy about. So that is the thing that I've loved and been able to see, that the true end client, the C-Suite network, if you would, is really valuing what the C-Suite advisors and what the C-Suite network is all about.
Well, here's what let me add to that. I mean, now I'm getting really excited. Okay, this is the part where I'm going to get loud. All right.
All right.
And we're going to thrive. We're all going to thrive with this, because here's the key thing. Look, I've been a Fortune 100 company. As C-level executive, CMO at Kodak years and years ago, 7 years ago to be exact. And but I've also bought and sold over 250 companies, $1 billion companies, $1 million companies, everything, 25 billion in transactions. And one of the things that when you're at that level, okay, and I'm sitting, by the way, small business, big business doesn't make a difference. When it's all relative. We're always, as a leader in the business, we're so consumed by the stuff of the business that, especially when I was in a big company, my time is not my own, because I'm being drawn to this, drawn from crisis. If I'm not in a crisis, I'm coming out of one. Either way, all right? That's just the nature of life. That's the nature of business, especially today. And you mentioned fast moving. Well, I used to think I had to be the smartest guy in the room, until I realized when I was in bigger companies, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. That's not my job. My job is to be the most strategic person in the room. The problem with all this information coming at us is, who do I trust? What do I trust? Who do I look for? Who do I talk to? How do I get that? So the network of this information, the network of these advisors, the network of all of this expertise is really critical to me, because it makes it faster and easier and quicker and so forth. So it allows me to be the most strategic person in the room. And that's really the job of the C-Suite. And so what we try to do with the advisors and with the network of people and the information, the content on C-Suite TV, C-Suite Radio, the C-Suite Book Club, and all the benefits that we provide is to continue to serve that group. Much like, when you go into a restaurant, Lou, you know that your favorite restaurant, I'm sure you've got one. I have a couple of them.
I probably have 5, but yes.
I have a couple. You look at me, you understand I like to drink and eat food. So, I got a few of them. And when I walk in, like I did last night, I met with the president of CBS and the president of another network last night, and we met at a place called Ben & Jackson, New York City. I walked in, and I literally 15 seconds of me walking up to the bar where the president of one of those networks was sitting, my drink was sitting on the bar.
And I'd also probably add that you probably had at least 5 strips of bacon added to that as well.
We did. And after about 10 minutes into the thing, they were serving us bacon. Exactly. Yeah, because that's exactly true. So, yeah, if nothing, I'm predictable. Okay.
This is true.
But my point is, they know me, and that's what the C-Suite Network is about, is getting to know the executives and what you need so that we take care of you, because that's the kind of service that you need, and that's what we're there to do, and that's what advisors are there to do, or counselors, or trainers, or coaches, and thought leaders, and having access to that is a really big thing. So that's what the C-Suite Network's all about.
So I had to share a funny story with you, Jeff. When the announcement for one of the promotions that you do with Bestseller TV, where it shows up in airports and in planes and in hotels, there was a social media post that came out. And I am so warped in the way that social media works that I figured that the ad that I received was somehow customized to me. You know how when you go through your content, maybe in Facebook, you'll see advertisements pop up, and it's specific to maybe something you've searched on. Obviously, I was on an episode of Bestseller TV, and my image was what you guys used for the static image of the Bestseller TV announcement. Now, I didn't know this. I just figured that it was just, customized to me, what's going on. So I'm getting all of these messages from other people who've been on the show. Dude, great post. I saw you on this thing. I couldn't believe that they saw it. So I'm blind enough to know that we've actually targeted. So I have a special thank you, kudos to who's ever in our marketing department.
Well, that's our team. We did. Someone on our team evidently thought you were eye candy.
Yeah, that could be it, yes.
That was it. Yeah. No, but I will tell you something. This goes back to networking and connections and so forth. Let me tell you the reason why you were selected for that. Because someone in our team said that he's a great guy to work with.
You see, at least that part's true, because we definitely know it isn't for my looks. But we'll go with that.
Regardless, it takes all kinds, right? That's okay. We'll say that. I'm super chunky size eye candy. That's what I am. So that's okay with me. But my point is that's how you get things. How you get things is by helping other people, by giving them information, by giving them value. And even though we have a relationship where we give you value, you give us value, the team felt strong enough to say, no, put Lou on the front of that.
No, it was appreciated. And what's really funny about it is that the actual program, and one of the other deals that you had was in an elevator. Listen to this connection story, because this is unbelievable. So the day that, I think it was right after Easter, you had launched the program on Captivate, and It was airing on Captivate. And I actually didn't check out my phone until I went into a building in New York City, which happened to have Captivate in it. There is no more surreal experience in your entire life when you walk into an elevator and you hear yourself talking and see yourself in it, which is strange enough. Yeah. But later that day, someone reaches out to me via social media, who I have not spoken to in over 40 years. This is someone I was friends with as like a toddler. And this individual and I, by the end of the day, were speaking and actually talking about how we could help each other's company. That happened from a ride in the elevator that she was in San Francisco. How crazy is that?
And so we're in 1,600 elevators around the country. Not elevators, 1,600 buildings. These are commercial buildings. It's Captivate. We love Captivate. They're a great distribution partner for us and content partner. And yeah, you were on for that. She would have saw that 15 seconds at that elevator ride at that time. And then look, someone picks up the phone and calls you. We hear these stories every day. You got to go where the people are, and that's real critical. You talk about surreal. The only other more surreal thing than that is, I've had a primetime television show on Bloomberg, and now it's on C-Suite TV. But while it was on Bloomberg and now C-Suite TV, I'm in various airplanes like United. You'll still see my episodes in United, and I'll be sitting there in first class and look over, and there's someone watching my show. And then all of a sudden he or she looks over at me and then looks back at the show and then does one of those double takes.
But I see the guy that I'm sitting next to. As long as they're not dragging you out of the plane and then running you under it by the CEO, I think we're okay. If we have to switch your airline.
Everybody's got issues. Everybody's got issues.
So let's talk, before I start going into some specifics, and we've been, obviously toasting the benefits of all this stuff that's going on. Talk to me, as the chairman of C-Suite Network, some of the challenges that you've been running through and how you're trying to deal with it and overcome them.
Well, I mean, scale. So our biggest issue is scale. I mean, we grew at almost 300% last year. This year we'll probably add another 0 to that. We will. And so that means with scale, good news, bad news. I mean, you're growing fast, but that complicates. You can grow yourself out of a business if you're not able to service that business in terms of having enough cash and having enough capital to be able to do the things you want to be able to do. The other thing is, with success comes all these people out of the woodwork who want to join in your success, right, and want to now offer you other things. So sticking to the knitting, so to speak, or keeping focused and not chasing squirrels all the time is a really hard thing for a guy like me to do, because I have I'm a short attention span, ADHD, whatever they call that as well, and probably about every other ailment and things that you could probably think of. And so I'm constantly, I have a tough time, focusing on, no, this is the three or four things, maybe 5 things I need to do, and if they're not in these buckets, I can't deal with them. And it's tough to do sometimes, and you just have that. It's a real hard issue, and so you have to really keep focused. And then the other thing is to learn to, I like to do everything myself, like most great people, and so how can I turn it over? How can I get other people to help me do the things I can do, and how can I get them to their greatness in what they do? And I think those are the biggest challenges I've got.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. As in running all the stuff with Thrive, even when I work with some of the most amazing people to make them more amazing, I am always trying to figure out how I could take someone else on, is recognizing that there are other amazing people and partners to work with to help grow. And that, you're right, that's the toughest thing when you can do a job well, to let go of that, and the importance of helping others know that as well, especially as coaches and leaders, to communicate that out. You started to mention something, because this was great, because you talked about the squirrels, and I have a question I love to ask people, which is, when you're having trouble thriving, who is the sensei or coach you turn to? Can you tell us about killing all the squirrels and the derivative behind that? Because this is good.
Well, I have a stuffed squirrel sitting on my desk, and the reason is because is a constant reminder. In the movie Up, there's a great movie Up, and actually I have some affinity with that because it was done with Kodak Film, and I was part of Kodak when they did that movie. And I'm watching one day, and by the way, they animated my infomercial into that. That's a separate story. I'm sitting there watching it, had no clue, and all of a sudden my infomercial I'd done on Kodak, or our infomercial, it's not mine personally, our infomercial was playing in the background as part of the animation in the movie. Side note, they just they liked us, they're friends of ours, and they needed something, so they put our commercial in there. I thought that was cool. But in that movie, if you remember, there's an Ed Asner character, an old man.
Yep.
Who goes on this adventure to Paradise Falls, and he inadvertently takes his young scout along with him, and as they're in this adventure, they run into this dog that runs up to them, and he's got this collar on, and it's Doug the talking dog, and he says, "Hey, you're really cool, and you smell like vanilla, and you can hear me because my master has given me this collar that allows you to hear my innermost thoughts. I think you're very nice." And then he looks away and yells, "Squirrel!" Because he's a freaking dog, right? And so that's what happens with business owners and great leaders and entrepreneurs and CEOs and CMOs and CFOs. Squirrels.
Yep.
Squirrels are popping up all the time. So I actually wrote in my last book, Think Big, Act Bigger, The Rewards of Being Relentless. And I wrote a whole chapter about how you got to kill squirrels.
I love it.
And not just literally kill squirrels, because squirrels are just, furry little rodents, but, and some squirrels need to be killed. But anyway, regards to that, but I'm talking about the business squirrels, the ones that pop up and you're going squirrel, 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 and they just distract you. And so it's real important to keep keep focused, because, man, that's what leads to great success.
No, very true. And it is a great movie and a phenomenal scene as well, because I love that it's very key at the end, which comes into it with the squirrels. So talk to me about some of the other stuff that's going on with C-Suite right now. I was going to ask about the Hero Club.
Oh, well, I'm so excited about that. That's in November of 2016, we were able to acquire the assets of a group called the Hero Club. Back in 1998, there was a gentleman by the name of Rob Ryan. Rob sold his business for a little over $20 billion. And when he sold that business, he had no heirs. And one of the things he had put into the business that was his employees got a portion of the proceeds. And then also the word got out about the company, how well it was going to do. So all the local community, there was cops, there was police officers, there were firemen, there were car valets. Everybody invested in the company. So after they sold it, one day he comes walking out of his favorite restaurant, which was the place called, I think it was called Brooks, I believe it was the name of it. I think that's it. And it's outside of San Francisco. And in that movie, it was filmed Mrs. Doubtfire.
Right.
So he comes walking out one day, and there's this long line of people, and he's thinking, "Oh my gosh, they're to see to Robin Williams." No, they said, "No, we're here to see you, Mr. Ryan." And he go, "Why you see me?" And he didn't like that, of course, because he didn't want him to be seen. And they said, "Well, you don't understand. I'm the janitor." And the other guy said, "I'm the cop. I'm the guy down the street. I invested in your company, and you made me a millionaire." And it was the single largest number of millionaires ever made in one day as a result of this company going public. And the gift that he gave to his employees, but by other people also investing in the company. And they went one by one, they went up to him and his wife, Terry, who was also chief legal officer at the time, and said, "You're our hero." And so Rob was taken by that and said, why can't everybody have that same experience? His father fought in World War II. He had given so much for his country. And he said, what's my gift? And my gift is going to be making more entrepreneurs and giving them systems and ways in which they can become heroes and their companies become heroes. So that's what we've done is we've taken the Hero Club, and we've since November have almost tripled the size of the organization, looking for CEOs who want to sign a pledge that they're going to do and live by a certain principles of how they will share, how they will participate, the ways in which they'll do things, and then also how they can be hero companies. And so what we do is we provide them with education, we provide them with the network for growth, to be able to make other connections, just like the C-Suite network, but in this case it's only for CEOs. And then also focused in on access to capital. And last but not least, also being able to have a little balance and life balance, because it's important for you to have that balance of life.
No, it's great. And the funny part about it is that the executives value it tremendously, is what I can imagine. Just the ability to get the balance and to offer that, how to take those lessons and go with it. So
we get together. The other day we were in Tucson at the chairman's retreat. I'm chairman of the group, and we had a number of CEOs there from our organization, the Hero Club, and we said, what's your biggest need? And so we spent time, with CEOs sitting in a room, each talking about the needs that each of them had. And then we also said, what is a gift that you could give to the others in the room? And we spent hours of people sharing, hey, I can do this for you. If you need this, I can do this. And so to watch the guys and gals in the room start helping each other to be bigger heroes in their companies was just, I can't tell you the feeling of elation that I got as a result of that. And that's what this is about. And it's about how, look, when you see all of the other stuff that's going on, look, don't get me wrong. I like making money. Everybody should. That's how we keep score. All right. And what's really cool about this is not just about making money, but how we recognize that others helped us get there. and not just taking it and running, but to give back to our communities, because that's the right thing to do, to give back to the help people who helped us make it, and share in that. That's what this is important. That's what being a hero is all about.
That's a good segue question for us, Jeff, and that is, who is your personal hero, an individual that has helped be a mentor to you, Jeffrey Hayzlett?
Oh, there's a lot of them. I run into them every single day. It could be a cab driver who is making his life over again. It could be a guy serving me a cup of coffee in the morning. But it's also people that you won't even know who they are. It's like Mr. Pinson, who when I was 14 gave me a job, and I was a plumber's assistant, and at a time in my life I could have gone the other way, and who shaped me up a little bit, and a gunnery sergeant in the United States Marine Corps from Vietnam who when my father was over in Vietnam made sure that he was my baseball coach, so I had something to do so I wouldn't get in trouble, right? And then Mike O'Connor, who I bought a printing business from, who taught me the value of I call it the Z out every day. Taught me the value of Zing out the register every day and keeping track and measuring every day and knowing what I had to do every single day, the little things to make the big things happen. And then guys like John Timmer, who a Republican candidate for Congress, a Republican legislator, and I was on the other side of the fence, and who taught me the value of ethics and being and standing for the right thing no matter what the cost. Like guys like that, and not just guys, but my mother, my father, my daughter, my son. I see them every day.
Yeah, I was gonna just jump on that Z out thing, because I grew up. My dad was in retail jewelry, and he used to have a series of stores, and that Z out slip that you used to have to print out, I have to take it home each day and made sure everything added up. I just connected with all of that on that old register functionality. Along those lines of other things. How is it, I know of recent, at the time of this recording, it's not too long ago, you became a grandfather again, right?
Exactly. I can't wait. I'm trying to get my daughter married so she can go have more. She can have some. My son has delivered 2 grandchildren, and, that's one of the greatest things, one of the most primal things in the world. You don't know who these little kids are. They pop out, boom, man, instant love. Instant everything, and they couldn't be more perfect. And I think every grandparent feels probably pretty much the same way.
Yeah, my grandfather had this expression, Jeffrey, that was great. He says, you invest in your children, and the grandchildren are life's dividends.
Ooh,
and
smart man.
So I hope they are paying off well for you, because just to see the smile on your face, whether in social media pics or just the last time I saw you, it's great to see, because it makes you an even better leader, believe it or not. Kind of humbles you a little.
Absolutely. Well, I have short attention span, short patience, as you well know, and I those kids teach me patience. You can't be mad at your grandkids for anything they do, and not that I ever would anyway. But it's just awesome to be able to imprint and on them the things that you probably couldn't totally do on your kids. So that's one, and I always have to, of course, sit with my kids and say, now if I step out of line by saying something you don't want me to say, you let me know, because I'm a very opinionated kind of guy, and I try to learn my boundaries. But I'm, to those kids, I'm just Papa. I'm not Perfect. A TV guy. I'm not an author. I'm not a business guy. The one the oldest is now is 2. She is 2, and the newest one is about a month and a half now. And I'm Papa. Man, there's nothing better.
That's awesome. Give us the latest plugs of what's coming up. We've got the C-Suite Network Conference later this month.
Yeah, come to the C-Suite Conference in Dallas, or we got another one in July, another one in September, another one in November. We got weekly meetings online, our digital meetings, where we have experts like yourself and others who join us on those meetings. And then come see us at the Hero Club. We've got meetings in LA coming up, meeting in Dallas coming up, meeting in San Francisco coming up, Minneapolis, Chicago, and New York. And so you can go to the HeroCEOClub.com, or come watch us on C-Suite TV, C-Suite Radio. We've got, podcast and television content, some of the greatest in the world.
Perfect. And as I like to ask every single guest, what is your favorite movie of all time, Jeffrey?
Oh man, see, they're westerns, and I got so many. It's really tough. It's got to be Dances with Wolves because I was filmed in South Dakota, and I got to partake in some of it. But I'm also partial to Open Range and Quigley Down Under. So there, I got them in. I love all those.
Oh, that's awesome. Anyway, but hey, thanks for being here today, my friend. Looking forward to continuing to see the C-Suite Network grow. And to continue to hang out with you and Ben and Jax whenever you come on in.
We need more bacon and scotch in this world. That's all I gotta say.
Oh man, but I can't thank you enough. Thanks for being on the show, and thank you everyone for joining us. And until next week, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Thrive Loud, or find us on the web at thrivepartners.net.